Without question, the biggest news for the 2016 Sea-Doo lineup is the utilization of their new 3-cylinder, 300 horsepower, 1630 ACE 300 engine in their RXPX, RXTX, and GTX limited models that Sea-Doo claims is also more efficient than the previous 1503 HO engine. Sea-Doo media relations specialist Tim McKercher shared with us the backstory that led up to the realization of the most powerful factory engine ever produced for Sea-Doo Watercraft.
Yeah, with this engine package, it's all new. It's a completely new engine, but we based it off the previous Fortec package. And the Rotax engineers looked at every single element of the engine to see where there was opportunities for improvement, for advances in efficiency. It's an ACE engine. ACE stands for Advanced Combustion Efficiency. So every element of the engine was studied, it was refined, and then now it's a slightly bigger engine at 1630 cc's, but it has exponentially more power, producing 300 horsepower.
The increased displacement was achieved by increasing the stroke of the crankshaft from 63.4 millimeters to 69.2 millimeters. The cylinder bore remains the same at 100 millimeters, but is now lined with a plasma coating rather than iron sleeves for improved thermal exchange, less friction, and a slight reduction in weight. While the displacement was increased by 9%, the horsepower output was increased 15%, with major improvements to the supercharger and intercooler. The new, more efficient supercharger will have double the blades for a total of 32. Supercharger RPM is increased 8% to 47,000. Sea-Doo claims all of this equates to 30% more boost. The new connecting rods were shortened to accommodate the longer stroke, and new pistons are utilized that are 20 grams lighter yet more robust. The best news to us was the improvements made to the supercharger drive system that include additional clutch washers made of improved material, driving a thicker shaft that has been dynamically balanced. All of these improvements combine to make a supercharger that Sea-Doo claims is maintenance-free. The new intercooler is larger and more robust than the previous model, with larger intake and output ports and claimed performance that is 2.2 times more efficient than the previous model. It is constructed of long-life alloys and utilizes sacrificial anodes in both the intercooler and water passage tubes to greatly improve longevity. The engine and oil cooling systems have been revamped to improve the cooling capacity of the ski by a whopping 33%, with the addition of a new cooler placed high in the rear of the hull. Long-life coolants are now utilized with a recommended change interval of 5 years. The size of the oil cooler itself has been significantly increased, and there is a new oil temp sensor as well. Ignition is managed via a new coilover plug system with almost twice the ignition discharge. A new single overhead cam cylinder head has improved combustion chamber shapes for improved efficiency. So, the engine looks fantastic on paper, but how does it actually perform?
Yeah, so the engine itself, it has 9% more displacement, and that was done through increasing the stroke. And a longer stroke provides more torque. So the real benefit of the increase, 15% increase in power, is in the mid-range and acceleration. It has stronger acceleration, but the mid-range is really where you feel this power difference, especially in open water where you're disengaging the engine and engaging it constantly. Before, there was a slight lag before you got going again. Now, it just powers through it. You never really slow down. Same thing in cornering. If you were to corner really hard on some watercraft, it'll drop the RPMs some. This machine just keeps going and going at full speed, and that's where you're really using that power.
We found Tim's comments to be right on the money. When pulling the trigger from idle or very low RPM, it did take a brief moment or two for the engine to spool up. But once the boost kicked in, you'd better be holding on tight and have plenty of clear water ahead, as you will cover it very quickly. Recovery time over wakes was extremely quick, especially when the revs are kept above 2,000 RPM. Vibration was significantly reduced over the 1,500cc engine. The new engine redlines at 8,400 RPM, with non-regulated wide-open throttle cruising designed to be at 8,000 RPM. U.S. regulated machines will be pulled back to around 7,700 RPM at 65 miles per hour. While 91 octane fuel is recommended and required to achieve the full 300 horsepower, fuel rated as low as 87 can be safely utilized due to NOx sensors that adjust engine management to compensate for the reduced octane capability. but performance will suffer respectively. Overall, we call the 1630 Ace 300 engine a major grand slam for the 2016 Sea-Doos lucky enough to be a recipient.